Hello and welcome to this week's review on My Hero Academia. This week I'm reviewing the episode titled The Final Boss. So we kick off this review, as we always do with these reviews, by talking about the positives and the headline positives. All the big things I discuss over the course of this review. I love the twist with the title. The animation and design work is fantastic yet again, and had some amazing moments of character yet again. Yes, I know I'm repeating certain phrases and certain headlines, but it's kind of hard not to, because this season thus far is being incredibly consistent. Just want to say quickly, and I hope to be able to stop saying this soon, be sure to like, favourite, subscribe, and do all the YouTube stuff that YouTube wants you to do, because we know that YouTube is going through a bit of a weird patch recently. With that said, let's get into the heart of the review, and just say that Bakugo is awake, and oh boy is he hecking angry now. I mean, this episode, from a pure visual point of view, from an animation point of view, is everything that I hoped it could be and more. I will admit, it's getting really hard to talk about these episodes right now. Part of that is just down to just how bloody brilliant I've been finding them. It's kind of hard to describe just how amazing I'm finding them, because it starts after a certain moment to be feeling like I'm trying to describe the nature of the universe to a frog, to give an example from another series. A part of that is also due to the fact that, you know, as I've said, many of the headline positives are much the same, so you just feel like repeating myself just to be talking about stuff. I don't want to be in a position where I'm just literally repeating stuff that happens in the episode in some kind of narrated retelling of it, some kind of sweated version of it. And, you know, part of it is due to the fact that this is part of just one long action sequence where, you know, there's not that much happening in the drama department, but even still, there is. This is an episode in the series thus far that's been able to balance action, drama, and character development almost perfectly. Once again, this week we kick off by spinning the clock back to just before Bakugo woke up. And all around the world, we're getting these shots of people watching their fight or going about their day. You know, for some, this is the most important day of their life. For others, it's only Tuesday, to borrow a phrase. Now, I know that some people are probably going to take issue with it, but for me, I like in a weird way, because there's almost this sense of the theatre of the absurd about it. You have people ignoring the ultimate final battle for the future of Japan, and possibly the world, because there is this greater world out there with its own heroes and villains, and yes, this might well be a fight for the future of humanity, but the people at work going about their day don't know that. And if it turns out this is not the battle for the fate of the world, if the heroes win, and in some cases maybe if the villains win, these people still have reports due by the end of the week, goddammit. They've got quotas to meet, and they've got to bloody well meet them. And like they say, there's this almost theatre of the absurd about it. Here we have this horrific display of blood and gore and nastiness, this battle for the fate of the very nature of humanity from this point on, and people are just going about their office jobs. I mean, again, some people might find issue with it, but it is just showing that at this point, if nothing else, there's people out there who aren't taking this battle seriously. They've got their own things to deal with, their own dramas to deal with. And of course, during that, we get some familiar faces, and we get an increasing number of people who are cheering on All Might, who are praying that All Might won't die. This is done with the metaphor of the wind collecting around the world to being around Japan. That weather, I don't know what the weather pattern thing is. My eyes glaze over that kind of stuff because it's too technical for me. And this is a metaphor for everyone's focus drawing in on All Might and drawing in at Japan in this moment. Not everybody, as we see in the montage bit, but even if they're trying to keep themselves away from it and ignore it, as we end up getting from the weather reporter in America, they play the little clip where they talk about, well, these changes, this big storm could end up affecting the jet stream over America, which itself says is that what's happening here might well impact the rest of the world, albeit in a more technical way, albeit in a way that's more about weather. It's still a metaphor itself for how this all could end up rolling out, that what's happening there will touch all the corners of the world. So even if you have people going about their day, if everything goes to hell, they're not going to be able to go about their day for much longer. And that is a brilliant just representation of all of this. Whilst this is something that for the moment is contained just Japan, it is something that could quite easily spread out across the world, depending on how it goes. And even if the heroes win, this could still spread out around the world, but for different reasons, for more heroic and peaceful reasons, which we could discuss another time. But I have this feeling that some people are going to misinterpret what's happening here. We have all the people cheering on and praying for All Might, and some people see it as a prayer works, guys, which I really don't think that it is, because this is a reflection of just how much All Might has become the symbol of peace, not just for people in Japan, but around the world. It is showing the repercussions of this fight and how it will spread out across this world one way or the other, and it is representing the human desire for peace and hope, and how All Might has come to represent that. And the idea is that if All Might dies, the symbol of peace dies, and by extension, peace and safety and hope dies with him. That might not have been the case, maybe, if an Endeavour had been able to step up and be the new symbol of peace and the new #1 hero of Japan, but in this moment, people are praying, that hoping and cheering on All Might, because if he survives, then maybe there's hope for all of us. And as this is going on, or possibly thereafter, I don't remember the exact timing of it, we get the echoes of All Might within the little realm within One for All starting to form up, starting to become more like the other aspects, the other past users. And it starts to look like he's actually dying, and there's just sense of just constant fear in the back of your mind, like, oh god, it's actually gonna happen. Because back in the back of your mind, echoing away, there's still that Night Eye thing of how you're going to die a horrible, horrible, horrible death. Oh god, don't be a hero anymore. You're gonna die a horrible death. And we get the moments with the second One for All user, I can't remember the name of them, and they look to All Might starting to form, and it's him forming as he's trying to tell Midoriya, look, you can use the gear shift power, but if you do it, it's going to leave you incredibly vulnerable. But as he sees All Might forming, he knows that that statement's not going to mean much, because when All Might forms, he will encourage Midoriya to go beyond and push through his limits, go plus ultra. And even if he doesn't, the mere fact that All Might has died is something that's going to make Midoriya do it regardless. As I've said over the past few weeks that this has been going on, everyone now is running on fumes. Everyone is now running on almost empty. Barely anyone has anything left in the tank. Every act, every punch, every motion, every movement could easily be a character's last. All our heroes and almost all our villains, apart from seemingly the ones in the stadium, are just about hanging on here. They are throwing everything they have to try and stay in the fight and to try and get the win in. With, again, seemingly only the villain in the stadium still standing on his own 2 feet and being okay at the moment. And that, of course, is until Bakugo shows up with him being held together by rage and string. I think that all the action sequences that we got with Bakugo this week were just stellar. Looking equal parts, equal to, and greater than anything that we've seen in the movies for this series thus far. Like, the action in this episode is just amazing. Just seeing how this character is able to move about with this power in a way which just looks like... it makes it... he moves about in a way that you'd expect the villain to move about. Not just due to the fact he's covered in blood and looks like he's some kind of monster, but he moves about almost so effortlessly and has such a commanding presence of the fight that he's in, despite the fact he's in constant bloody agony. It's amazing. That bit where he and All For One are just racing through the buildings and blasting through it. We have the moment where Bakugo's talking about how is he able to keep up with Midoriya and All Might? Is he able to meet Midoriya? No, he might actually be able to exceed and move faster than Midoriya. Like, all of that is brilliant and amazing. And we go from people, that montage of people around the world being scared for All Might, this hopeless feeling of, that's it, this is it, he's dead, hope's dead, peace is dead, we're doomed. And then we get Bakugo charging in, exploding out of all angles, because he has his explosive quirk stuff in his blood now. People are starting to realise who he is, and people are starting to look at him differently. Those who know who he is Or otherwise, they're just seeing him as this hero that's coming out of the woodwork to save the day. This long, mysterious character who's now going to save All Might and defeat the greatest evil this world has ever known, or at least certainly in the Age of Heroes. We get the character development on the battlefield thing, some of that's not uncommon for shows and stories like this. But here we have it with him flying through buildings and exploding all over the place. We get an amazing moment, that brilliant, beautiful moment where you have All Might and Bakugo on top of the building. And All Might gives Bakugo the damaged gauntlet. Even though it's not going to be able to do anything. What it is it represents All Might putting his total faith in Bakugo. This is him passing the torch in the only way that he can do. This is him showing that he has total unmovable faith in Bakugo. In a way that Bakugo probably hasn't had anyone do before. Or at least he hasn't felt that they've done it in that way before. All Might is passing on the responsibility of being a hero to him. He's passing over being the symbol of peace to him. He passed his power to Midoriya. He's passing the being of being a hero. He's passing on being a hero to defeat the greatest evil to Bakugo. He's making Bakugo the hero. He's giving Bakugo someone who believes in him. Bakugo has someone who believes in him and wants him to succeed in his own way, to cut a clear path for himself in a way that is uniquely his, that he's not having to mimic All Might or anyone else, that he will not have to live in the shadow of Midoriya and All Might and all the other heroes. He will be able to stand beside them, if not exceed them. And despite the fact his body is almost constantly exploding, he's going to go out there and he's going to fight and he's going to save the day. He will be the one that is the new symbol of peace in his own way. Even though he's the most chaotic, destructive character there, he's the one that people are going to see defeat All for One. He's the one that everyone's going to see defeating the ultimate villain who rewrote the nature of this world in his own way to maintain power and to become this dark demon lord, self-proclaimed demon lord of a new age. And the fact that Bakugo is the one that's going to do it is amazing, considering the direction that character has gone through over their time in the series. A character that was originally envisioned to ultimately be the big bad guy that Midoriya has to face off against. This school bully character turning into a villain isn't that now. He's the one that's going to ultimately most likely take down All for One, with Midoriya most likely taking down Tomura. And all the while, he's still exploding and becoming this big bloody mess. And I'm just thinking, Mr. Headshot, sir, I know that you're just kind of a puddle now, but we're gonna need you to plug his body up again because he's bleeding out of everywhere. Going into this episode, with the title being what it is, just going off the title, you knew what the thrust was going to be one way or the other. The final boss. Thinking about it, you think, okay, Bakugo's awake now. The final boss, it means he's going to be the one to fight All for One. One way or the other, that's the way things are going to be going. Only in the end, it doesn't quite go that way. Because it turns out that the final boss is not All for One, it's Bakugo. But not because Bakugo's become evil or anything. It's because he has become the final boss for All for One. I loved that little moment, that little twist that he was the one that says, I'm the final boss. It still shows that even though he's bleeding out of every last millimetre of himself and exploding like an explosion at a firework factory, he's still the same little bastard as ever. Even if he is the one that will, or hopefully will be the one that beats All for One in this state, he's still the same person, because All Might is allowing him, All Might is saying to him by giving him that gauntlet, you make your own path. You are the hero now, you do it your way, you fight your way, you save the world your way. And there is that other element to it that whilst Bakugo is saying this in part out of ego and in part because he wants to try and lull All for One into some kind of trap or to distract him, it cuts All for One especially deeply because it makes him feel that Bakugo reminds him of the second One for All user. And I think that's amazing. Like, it goes into showing, I suppose, and this is something I mentioned in the past, that, and this is purely speculative on my part, I have to say, but as All for One has been getting younger as a result of this healing thing that's backfired on him, he's becoming more and more reckless. You know, he's becoming more adolescent and unfocused and undisciplined in his behaviours and his actions. And as such, these comments and these statements are cutting deep with him because he's of a less developed mental state, so I suppose. Or even just beyond that, it just goes to show and further enforce the idea that All for One, maybe in his own way, wasn't the mastermind, the great demon lord that he thought he was and presented himself was. You know, that he is presenting himself, and we are reminded in this episode he's supposed to be this big master planner that plans so far in advance and has so many paths to victory that they're almost infinite, and that if anything bad comes along, he can easily pivot onto something different. He can always find a way to win because he has so many plans upon plans. But that idea is becoming increasingly discredited by the way this fight is going, because he mentions about how he had this great master plan, but all the cogs and all the elements are coming loose and it's starting to fall apart. And look, I just been, alright, I don't want to give spoilers or anything, but I was thinking a few months ago to do a what if everything went wrong for All for One. Not like to the point where he just gets defeated in like day one, but like his plan just falls apart more progressively as the series goes along. And part of that was, the justification was that maybe All for One is not the greatest planner that he thinks he is, and it's all mostly hype. And my justification for a lot of that was the fact of, look, how can he be this great master planner if he spent most of the past decade or two looking like a thumb in a suit and spending the last few months of seemingly his life living in a cave bossing around teenagers and early 20-somethings? That if he really was this great master planner, wouldn't he have some kind of big high-tech bunker somewhere that he'd be in? Wouldn't he have all these allies that he could call upon and draw in? He doesn't. Like, he might have connections across the world with villain groups, but he maybe isn't. Maybe he believes his own hype too much, and he needed his plans to go off totally without a hitch because, well, I suppose the reason why it's ultimately not going the way he planned it to is because he was treating those he was working with like pawns and not people, because people can make mistakes and people can overcome the odds. And, you know, let's not forget that this whole action sequence, this whole final battle, began because he was ambushed. He was, oh yeah, meet us in this building, that didn't think to have any other guards or anything waiting in wait to make sure that it was safe for him. Like, he was just so confident in himself that it's been his downfall. His hubris is getting away at him. And we see, as the episode progresses, this sneering confidence that All for One has melt away into panic as he tries to get beyond Bakugo, also whilst dealing with the rage that he still has as he thinks back to his time fighting the second One for All user. This is just a stellar episode with just such brilliant drama, such amazing action and fantastic animation. This is setting up for an unstoppable force meeting an immovable object, and right now, given just how determined these two characters are, I don't know which is which. They really are going out of their way here, and I bloody love this. This is an amazing series of events. I bloody love this. I really do bloody love this. With that said, let us get into the negatives, and it's only a slight one, and I think it's more of a timing thing more than anything else. Towards the latter half of the episode, we do get that montage showing us what other teams and other groups are up to. We see the other fights winding down. We didn't see, I will admit, I don't think we saw enough of them for my liking, but for a TV series like this, bearing in mind we are into the final season, I can understand not getting that much of them. But then we get that bit of that flash to the stadium, and it feels as though we're about to get into that stuff, that we're about to get into that fight sequence, given how it was paced and how it's put together. But we didn't. I mean, on the one hand, it would have been strange to get into at that moment because there's so much being focused around Bakugo, but it does feel as though we should probably at some point have gotten into it, or be in the process of getting into it. Like, it feels that at the very least there should have been an episode or so of showing every group getting set up with these big fights so that when this moment came along we could see what was going on. there's a part of me that wonders if we'll actually see anything of the other groups, if we will see what's going in this stadium or not, or maybe it is something that's more in the manga, I really don't know, but at the same time, I don't know where you'd put them in now because of just how focused we are on everything else. I suppose if you need something like a palate cleanser, if there's like a mid-season break, then maybe you put it in there, but aside from that, you know, it is a shame that we're not seeing much of the extended cast, but at the same time, I understand why, because of how much is focused upon this big final stretch, this, like, 10-mile stretch between where Bakugo and that is, and the UA building and Toma are. Like, we'll see where it all goes. Well, with that said, let's get into the overview, and unsurprisingly, I think that this is a brilliant episode. Like, it's hard for me to really articulate just how brilliant that it is, how this episode has developed and how these characters have come together in the way that they have done, I should say. And I just find it so remarkable that it's almost impossible to remark upon it. Maybe if I'd had more time to put something together to talk about it for, I would, but at the same time, it's just fantastic. It really is just fantastic. With that said, however, let's get into Comment Corner. It's time for Comment Corner. Time for comments, because it's Comment Corner. That's all I have to say. That said, let's get into the comments and say, first up, we have a comment from Sergeant Gunnery who says, thanks for the constant uploads. Thank you very much. Next, we have Big X1 who says, firstly, happy birthday. And second, I thought this episode was great. I hope the series season can stick the landing. Thanks for your comment, and I hope so too. I know that, you know, I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to tempt fate, but just say we'll see where we go with it. Our next comment comes from Scott TV Gamer who says, another long comment. First, happy late birthday. Thank you very much. Now, I was initially confused about how All For One countered Stain's ability as well, but I think I got it. He first drained his blood to undo the paralysis, as Stain was about to lick the blood that could paralyze him again. All For One changed his blood type with another quirk. I was confused by this part because I assumed that he would only change the paralysis time. But what I did was make it so the blood that Stain was licking about till it was technically no longer All For One's blood, meaning nothing would happen. What I did also find interesting, though, is that it's basically the only time in the series where Horikoshi, sorry I forgot the name wrong, uses the trope of a character revealing a new ability to counter someone else's. Considering All For One and his powers, it's surprising it doesn't happen more. Thank you for your comment, and thank you for the speculation and the confirmation and the information. That whole sequence in the previous episode where All For One just jets all his blood is one that I suppose that now it makes sense. He removed all the blood in his body that was what Stain had access to, and then just changed whatever blood he still had within him. That's the way it seems to have gone, which, okay, I think it happened so quickly it was hard to get a grasp of that, but nonetheless, it all ended the way I think we all knew it was going to end, with Stain being turned into a blood puddle. Anyway, let me know what you thought about this episode down in the comment section down below. If you loved it, dear, or you hated it, be sure to like, favourite, subscribe, do the YouTubey stuff, because YouTube wants you to do it, because they're seemingly holding every bugger hostage these days in order to get it to happen. With all that said and done, thank you all for listening, thank you all for watching, and see you next time. Goodbye!
Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, favourite, subscribe, click the bell, and do all the YouTubey stuff that YouTube wants you to do. Go on, it'll do me a power of good. Until next time, my friends, goodbye!